Good day everyone. Today, we shall tackle the implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act No. 12028 or the Academic Recovery and Accessible Learning Program Act. Section 1. Short title: These rules and regulations shall be known as the Implementing Rules and Regulations, IRR, of Republic Act No. 12028. Otherwise known as the Academic Recovery and Accessible Learning (ARAL) Program Act. Section 2. Declaration of Policy and Objectives. It is the declared policy of the state to protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. Towards this end, the state shall endeavor to support learners by establishing a free and effective national learning intervention program to ensure that all learners who are struggling in their lessons, especially in reading, mathematics, and science, will be able to attain the competencies set by the Department of Education in their respective levels. Section 3. Definition of terms. As used in this IRR, the following terms shall be defined as: 1. Act refers to Republic Act No. 12028, also known as the Academic Recovery and Accessible Learning (ARAL) Program Act. 2. Assessments refer to classroom-based or system assessments, or the process of identifying, gathering, organizing, and interpreting quantitative and qualitative information about what learners know and can do. 3. ARAL refers to learners who finished a grade level, stopped schooling, and enrolled in the next grade level after a year or more as of the enrollment cutoff date. 4. DepEd refers to the Department of Education. 5. Examination refers to either formative and summative assessments administered to learners to measure their knowledge or proficiency in a particular subject or learning area. 6. Furlough refers to a temporary, voluntary, or involuntary absence from the school by a learner which may be due to personal, family, health, financial, or other significant reasons that hinder the learner's ability to participate in formal education for a defined period. 7. IRR refers to the implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act No. 12028 or the Academic Recovery and Accessible Learning (ARAL) Program Act. 8. Learners refer to individuals who attend classes in any level of the basic education system under the supervision and tutelage of a teacher, tutor, or facilitator. 9. Minimum proficiency level refers to the benchmark of basic knowledge and learning competencies in a learning area measured by assessments. 10. National Learning Camp refers to the voluntary 3 to 5 week learning recovery program designed to benefit K-12 learners in public elementary and secondary schools. 11. Remedial or remediation refers to any form of organized instructional, 18 interventions given to a learner during summer class to address his or her learning gaps or subject area deficiency. The remediation can be made in the form of tutorial, mentoring, coaching, or other ways of delivering organized learning experiences pursuant to existing DepEd issuances. 12. PAR teachers refer to those who have taken the licensure examination for teachers but were unable to qualify and have been issued by the Board for Professional Teachers a special permit indicating their areas of assignment. 13. Pre-service teachers refer to students enrolled in a teacher education degree program offered by teacher education institutions, TEIs. 14. Pre-service teacher education programs refer to undergraduate degrees and certificates of teaching covering mandatory curriculum and practicum specifications. 15. Teachers refer to all persons engaged in teaching at the elementary and secondary levels, whether on a full-time or part-time basis, including technical vocational teachers and all other persons performing supervisory or administrative functions, or both, in all schools on the aforesaid levels and qualified to practice teaching under existing laws. 16. Tutors refer to persons who teach a single learner or a small group of learners. 17. Summer classes or end-of-school year classes refer to tutorial sessions conducted during the end-of-school year break. Section 4. Coverage. These rules shall apply to learners from kindergarten to grade 10, including those enrolled in the alternative learning system under the public basic education institutions of DepEd, enumerated as follows. A. Those who have returned or are returning to school after a furlough. Learners tagged as ARAL under the Learners Information System of DepEd shall be included in this category. Enrolled learners not yet listed or tagged as ARAL in the Learners Information System may be accommodated under the ARAL program, subject to the guidelines that shall be issued by DepEd. The learner's previous enrollment status in duly recognized academic institutions must be established and documented. Accordingly, if the learner is not yet tagged as ARAL, b. Those who are below the minimum proficiency levels required in reading, mathematics, and science, the minimum proficiency level, as mentioned in the Act and this IRR, must be operationalized and consistent with other assessments, including national assessments conducted by the DepEd to ensure their reliability and effectiveness. To determine who is below minimum proficiency levels, the DepEd may issue guidelines to determine and assess the development of learners for each key stage. C. Those who are failing in examinations and tests as assessed and evaluated by the teachers during the course of the school year. Learners who are failing in classroom assessments during the course of the school year, both in formative and summative tests or assessment policies, are also included in this category. Learners who meet the minimum proficiency levels may be allowed to enroll in supplemental classes under the ARAL program during the summer break, provided that priority shall be given to the learners as enumerated in the previous paragraph. The minimum proficiency levels as mentioned in the Act may be set by DepEd based on existing guidelines determining the proficiency levels of learners as mentioned in paragraph B of this section. Similarly situated learners who are enrolled in qualified private basic education institutions shall be provided the same interventions under this Act upon their request, provided that in case of limited slots for enrollment, preference shall be given to beneficiaries of the Educational Service Contracting Scheme. The DepEd shall issue the necessary guidelines to determine how learners from private institutions may avail of the ARAL program and other interventions mentioned by the Act and this IRR, and which private basic education institutions shall qualify for these interventions, considering the relevant factors such as size, type of incorporation, and other applicable criteria. Section 5. Establishment of the ARAL program. The ARAL program is hereby established to provide a national learning intervention program for learners in kindergarten to grade 10 enrolled in public basic education, including learners in the alternative learning system. Section 6. Objectives of the ARAL program. The ARAL program shall be grounded on the following objectives. A. Well-systematized tutorial sessions which demonstrate higher achievement gains. B. Well-designed intervention plans and learning resources developed in consultation with curriculum and reading specialists, following a learner 32-centered approach that is supportive and empathetic of the learner's needs, motivation, and behavior, including but not limited to one-on-one or group tutorials. C. Effective and accessible delivery modes for tutors and learners. D. Careful determination and assessment of learners. E. Well-chosen and trained tutors and learning facilitators. And F. Alignment with existing DepEd policies for the development and provision of nutritional, social and emotional, and mental health programs to support and ensure the holistic well-being of learners, and for them to prosper academically, build resilience against adversity, and be equipped with skills and confidence to seek help for early intervention during their educational journey. The ARAL program shall further ensure mastery of essential learning competencies and make up for learning loss of learners. The ARAL program, as mentioned in this IRR, shall further strengthen and institutionalize the existing National Learning Recovery Program and other related learning recovery programs implemented by the DepEd. To achieve the objectives of the ARAL program and to implement this provision, the DepEd will issue the necessary guidelines on systematized tutorial sessions, intervention plans, and learning resources to be developed, delivery modes for tutors and learners, determination and assessment of learners, hiring, training and remuneration of tutors and learning facilitators, alignment of policies and such other matters related to the implementation of the ARAL program, as mentioned in the Act. And in this IRR. Section 7. Essential learning competencies in reading, mathematics, and science. The ARAL program shall cover the essential learning competencies under the K-12 basic education curriculum covering reading and mathematics for grades 1 to 10, and science for grades 3 to 10. Essential learning competencies are competencies needed by the learners and are considered indispensable in the teaching-learning process in building skills and equipping learners for subsequent grade levels. Reading and mathematics shall be prioritized in the ARAL program to develop the critical and analytical thinking and 21st century skills of learners. The necessary guidelines on how to develop the critical and analytical skills of learners under the ARAL program will be issued by the DepEd to implement this provision. For kindergarten learners, the ARAL program shall focus on building foundational skills aimed at strengthening their literacy and numeracy competencies. It shall likewise be integrated into the developmental domains following the blocks of time. Foundational skills of learners refer to basic literacy, numeracy, and transferable skills that are the building blocks for a life of learning. They include reading, writing, oral communication, numeracy skills, learning, problem solving, initiative and enterprise and teamwork skills. Block of time refers to a time management strategy where a teacher, tutor, or learning facilitator schedules out every part of the lesson or activity. Section 8. Determination and assessment of learners under the ARAL program. The Learner Information System of the DepEd shall be used to determine those who have returned or are returning to school after a furlough, for purposes of Section 3A of the Act and Rule 2, Section 4A of this IRR. Consistent with existing policies on assessments, the DepEd shall determine the learners to be covered under Section 3B of the Act and Rule 2, Section 4B of this IRR, based on the results of the assessment to be administered prior to the start of the ARAL program. Classroom-based assessments, such as examinations and tests, shall be used by teachers to determine the learners to be covered under Section 3C of the Act. To assess the progress of learners, appropriate assessments shall be regularly administered. Assessments shall be conducted as a basis for determination of learners who will qualify for the ARAL program, subject to the conditions and requirements in the conduct of assessments provided in the preceding sections of this IRR. The DepEd shall develop learners' progress tracking system to systematically track and monitor learners' progress, identify areas of learning gaps to inform instructions and specific interventions. The DepEd will set the guidelines to assess the progress of learners and the regular administration of appropriate assessments as mentioned by the Act and this IRR. Priority shall be given to learners from kindergarten to grade 6, Section 9. Period of commencement and culmination of the ARAL program for every academic year. The period of commencement and culmination of the implementation of the ARAL program for every academic year will be determined by the DepEd consistent with the school calendar issued for specific school year. Section 10. Integration of the ARAL program into the teacher's program, school improvement plan, and annual implementation plan. To ensure effectiveness and sustainability, the ARAL program and its activities shall be included in the school improvement plan and annual implementation plan. The tutorial sessions under the ARAL program shall be integrated into the teacher's program of teachers serving as tutors. These sessions may be scheduled during weekdays, weekends, or any available time within the school calendar. The duration of tutorial sessions shall not exceed 1 hour for each learning area during weekdays and 2 hours for reading, mathematics, and science during weekends. The ARAL program activities of schools are encouraged to be aligned with existing remedial, enrichment, or recovery interventions as outlined by the current laws, policies, and DepEd issuances. To maximize learner engagement, the schedule and additional manpower to implement this program shall be reflected in the School Form 7, which shall be submitted to the school's division office for monitoring, evaluation, and technical assistance. Section 11. Tutors under the ARAL program. The following may be tutors under the ARAL program: A. Teachers and para-teachers, provided that teachers shall not be tutors of their own learners, experienced teachers with relevant areas of specialization, or those teachers who have years of actual experience in classroom management and a variety of teaching strategies, shall be given priority. Provided that such teachers shall not be tutors of their own learners, teacher applicants with relevant areas of specialization included in the list of Comparative Assessment Result Registry of Qualified Applicants, CARRQA, may also be given priority in the hiring of tutors. B. Pre-service teachers as defined under Republic Act No. 11713 or the Excellence in Teacher Education Act. The DepEd and CHED shall set the minimum requirements, criteria, and qualification standards for the pre-service teacher applicants under the ARAL program. C. Other trained individuals who are qualified, experienced, competent, and of good character consistent on the conditions stated in the succeeding paragraph of this IRR. For purposes of this Act, teachers refer to all persons engaged in teaching at the elementary and secondary levels, whether on full-time or part-time basis. Para-teachers are those who have taken the licensure examination for teachers but were unable to qualify and have been issued by the Board for Professional Teachers a special permit indicating their area of assignment. Pre-service teachers refer to students enrolled in a teacher education degree program offered by teacher education institutions. Except for teachers under paragraph A of this section, the tutors under the ARAL program shall not be considered practicing the profession of teaching under Republic Act No. 7836 or the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. The DepEd may engage as tutors other individuals deemed qualified, competent, and of good character based on conditions stated under the Implementing Rules and Regulations, IRR, of this Act. Section 12. Conditions on the qualifications of tutors. Tutors hired for the ARAL program must meet the minimum qualifications to be set by DepEd in separate guidelines to ensure the effective delivery of academic interventions and support to learners. Section 13. Capability building of tutors. To successfully achieve the objectives of the ARAL program, the DepEd shall ensure that the tutors receive sufficient training, as needed, focusing on effective pedagogies, interpersonal skills, social-emotional learning, and cultural competency, among others. The DepEd NEAP shall lead in designing, development, quality assurance, and delivery of the professional development (PD) programs aimed at empowering teachers, tutors, and school leaders to effectively implement the ARAL program. The Academy shall coordinate with other bureaus and offices that can assist them with the content and other technical aspects of the PD programs. The DepEd may enter into an agreement with CHED, TC, DSWD, and other concerned agencies, teacher education institutions, TEIs, and other organizations relative to the training and capacity building of pre-service teachers, para-teachers, and other individuals hired as tutors under the ARAL program. The DepEd and concerned LGU may enter into an agreement in relation to the capacity building, home learning and support activities conducted for parents and parent substitutes of learners under the ARAL Program Act, consistent with Rule 7, Section 21 on support from other stakeholders of this IRR, Section 14. Remuneration of teachers and para-teachers who serve as tutors. Teachers who serve as tutors shall be compensated, subject to the pertinent provisions of Republic Act No. 4670 or the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers and the existing rules and regulations of the DepEd and the Department of Budget and Management, DBM. Said compensation for teachers shall be granted, provided that they have already rendered the prescribed 6 hours of actual classroom teaching, and the amount paid for the purpose shall not exceed the compensation for 2 hours based on the prime hourly teaching rate consistent with DBM guidelines. Para-teachers who serve as tutors under this Act shall be compensated from the budget of the DepEd or the Special Education Fund, SEF, of the local school board of the local government unit, LGU, where the schools of the learners are located. The DepEd shall enter into an agreement with CHED, TEIs, and concerned LGU as to the remuneration and incentives of the pre-service teachers and other trained qualified individuals hired as tutors under Section 11, Par. C, of this IRR, to further implement the provisions of the Act on the remuneration of teachers, para-teachers hired as tutors under the ARAL program. The DepEd shall issue guidelines based on existing rules and issuances of the DepEd, CSC, DILG, DBM and other concerned agencies. Section 15. Incentives for pre-service teachers. Services rendered by pre-33 service teachers who serve as tutors shall be considered relevant teaching experience when applying for a plantilla position in the DepEd. Subject to relevant rules and regulations of the Civil Service Commission and the Merit Selection Plan and Hiring Guidelines of the DepEd, Section 16. Delivery modes for tutorial sessions. Tutorial sessions shall be conducted using the appropriate delivery modes to ensure that the sessions are effective and accessible to or within the reach of learners. The following appropriate delivery modes shall be conducted. A. Face-to-face tutorials where tutors and learners are physically present in the same place. For purposes of this IRR, the phrase "in the same place" refers to the school, home, or community learning spaces. B. Synchronous online tutorials where tutors facilitate the tutorial sessions and engage the learner's active participation by using various technologies so that learning can be accessed anytime or on agreed schedules, while they are geographically remote from each other. And C. Blended learning where a specified number of tutorial sessions include synchronous online and face-to-face tutorials. In determining the venue for the tutorial sessions, the DepEd shall consider accessibility, cost-effectiveness, and health safety risk. As far as practicable, the tutorial sessions shall be conducted in the public schools, learning centers and other appropriate facilities where the learners are or were previously enrolled, where the DepEd shall ensure the security and safety of all learners, tutors, and other parties involved pursuant to Republic Act No. 11313 or the Safe Spaces Act. Section 17. Campaigns for learners to return to school. The ARAL program shall create mass awareness campaigns through media and community engagement to encourage learners to re-enroll and return to school through strategies developed by the DepEd, consistent with existing policies on early registration, The DepEd shall set the guidelines for the conduct of the campaigns and relevant activities, schedules, and reintegration processes or mechanisms to encourage the learners to re-34 enroll and return to school under the basic education under the ARAL program. The DepEd shall also collaborate with concerned LGUs and other agencies, institutions, or organizations in the implementation of this provision in accordance with provisions on LGU support as mentioned in the succeeding provisions of this IRR. Section 18. Free access to all of DepEd's learning management systems applications, subsidized data plans for learners and tutors in need. Public telecommunications entities, PTEs, shall provide free access to all DepEd exclusively hosted learning management systems applications with a static and public Internet Protocol (IP) address. The learning management systems applications shall include web-based applications, online educational platforms, digital libraries, and other online knowledge hubs exclusively hosted by DepEd. No data charges shall also be incurred in downloading from, or uploading to, these applications. The DepEd shall also ensure that the subsidized data plans to be provided are suitable to the requirements of the online and blended mode of delivery of the tutorial sessions that may be conducted under the ARAL program, subject to the issuance of separate guidelines by the DepEd. The DepEd Information and Communications Technology Service (ICTS) may explore procuring data plans through public telecommunications entities, PTEs, which will give all registered learners and tutors SIM cards. Access to Internet connectivity, subject to existing guidelines of the Department. Payment of expenses on data plans may be charged to the local funds of implementing units, IUs, subject to Department of Budget and Management, DBM, Budget Circular No. 2024-2 or the guidelines on the payment of communication expenses of certain government personnel. However, only DepEd teachers that will serve as tutors may avail this. Para-teachers and pre-27 service teachers may be provided with similar incentives, however, the expenses shall be charged to their local government units, LGU, Special Education Fund, SEF, the Program Support Funds, PSF, may be provided using the DepEd's available funds of the Bureau, Service, or Office assigned as the principal implementer of the ARAL program. The PSF may be used for the payment of communication expenses of DepEd teachers that serve as tutors and shall be given through reimbursement modality subject yet again to the DBM budget circular mentioned in Option B. Similarly, only DepEd teachers may benefit from this incentive while para-teachers and pre-service teachers may be shouldered by the LGU's SEF. The DepEd shall determine the learners and tutors in financial need and ensure that they are provided subsidized data plans for the use of these applications. For purposes of this IRR, learners in financial need are those learners tagged as Conditional Cash Transfer, CCT, or Pantawid Pamalayang Pilipino Program, for PS, recipients in the LIS of DepEd, while tutors in financial need are those tutors, included in the Listahanan program of the DSWD, learners tutors not included in the above-mentioned lists, but below the poverty threshold set by the Philippine Statistics Authority, PSA, and the DSWD, may seek certification from the concerned LGUs, to avail of the subsidized data plans provided under the ARAL program, as used in the Act and IRR. 1. PTE shall refer to entities duly authorized by the National Telecommunications Commission to provide users or other entities with data connection allowing access to the Internet. And 2. Free access shall refer to the use of all learning management systems applications without incurring any corresponding data charges. SEC 19. Allotment of airtime for supplemental tutorial video materials. Pursuant to Republic Act No. 8370 or the Children's Television Act of 1997, a portion of the mandated allotment in the daily total airtime of each broadcasting, Network shall be utilized for supplemental tutorial video materials within the regular programming of all networks granted franchises or as a condition of renewal of their broadcast licenses hereinafter, to be included as part of the responsibility of the network in serving the public. The DepEd will issue guidelines to determine appropriate allotted daily airtime and supplemental video materials for learners under the ARAL program. The DepEd, in coordination with NCT, NCCT, and the concerned broadcasting network, may enter into an agreement on how the supplemental video materials for learners under the ARAL program will be produced and aired. Section 20. Local government support. The DepEd shall collaborate with the LGU concerned to provide a safe learning environment for face-to-face tutorials. They may also collaborate on other matters for the implementation of the ARAL program, such as the promotion of the program to potential tutors in higher education institutions, identification and referral of potential tutors to DepEd, and encouragement of parents and parent substitutes to include their children in the ARAL program. The initiatives of an LGU in implementing learning recovery strategies may be added as one of the performance indicators under the criterion on programs for sustainable education under Section 7(e) of Republic Act No. 11292 or the Seal of Good Local Governance Act of 2019 Section 21. Parental involvement. Schools and tutors shall develop linkages and maintain regular communication with the parents of the learners, as well as their parent substitutes as defined under Republic Act No. 11908 or the Parent Effectiveness Service Program Act. The parents and Parent 11 substitutes, being a primary resource and essential support in the education of their children, shall enhance their parental roles by assisting their children through home learning activities and making significant contributions in their educational development at home. The DepEd, in partnership with concerned LGU and Department of Social Welfare and Development, DSWD, may initiate home learning and support activities, programs, or similar initiatives for parents and parent substitutes of learners under the ARAL program. Section 22. Roles and responsibilities of government agencies. For purposes of the Act, the different agencies shall have the following roles and responsibilities. DepEd. The DepEd shall perform the following roles and responsibilities. A. Act as the lead agency in the implementation and yearly review of the ARAL program and such other campaigns, projects, and activities provided by the Act and this IRR. B. Identify learners and tutors who may need support in accessing data plans and use of applications used in the implementation of the ARAL program. C. Ensure support to learners by establishing a free and effective national learning intervention program to ensure that all learners who are struggling in their lessons, especially in reading, mathematics, and science, will be able to attain the competencies in their respective levels. D. Ensure a sufficient workforce of competent tutors to provide the learners their needed instructional support under the ARAL program. E. Provide comprehensive professional development and capacity building activities through training, seminars, and workshops to develop and enhance teaching competencies of teachers serving as tutors. F. Devise activities to promote and encourage the active participation of parents or parent substitutes of the learners in all activities pertinent to this program. G. Guarantee that appropriate funds are allocated for the programs of the Act and this IRR. H. Coordinate with CHED, DICT, DILG, and other stakeholders in the implementation of the provisions of this Act. And I. Issue the necessary guidelines and regulations supporting the implementation of the Act and this IRR. The CHED shall perform the following roles and responsibilities. A. Forge a partnership with DepEd through a Memorandum of Agreement to support of the implementation of the ARAL program and encourage the TEIs for the participation, identification, and referral of potential tutors to DepEd. B. Enter into an agreement with DepEd by conducting training, seminars, and workshops for potential tutors under the ARAL program to ensure the quality of the delivery and to focus on the building of foundational skills that aim to strengthen the literacy and learning competencies and the development of the critical and analytical thinking skills of learners, and C. Monitor the implementation and issue the corresponding guidelines on hiring of pre-service teachers as tutors under the ARAL program. The DILG shall perform the following roles and responsibilities. A. Coordinate with DepEd and concerned LGUs, and issue relevant policies and guidelines supporting the implementation of the Act and this IRR. B. Monitor that all hired para-teachers are properly compensated through the SEF of the local school board of the LGU where the schools are located. And C. Issue advisories and memorandum to LGUs for the conduct of information drives, schemes, strategies and community mapping. Activities to support the mechanisms and campaigns encouraging the learners to join and participate in the ARAL program of DepEd. The DICT shall perform the following roles and responsibilities. A. Enter partnership with DepEd to ensure the effective implementation of the ARAL program and to strengthen the delivery of basic education using the tools of broadcast and communications technology under the DICT to facilitate the tutorial sessions and to provide appropriate educational access even in geographically remote areas through the Public Education Network, PEN, DepEd TV, DepEd Commons, and other learning platforms used by DepEd, and B. Support DepEd in the development of digital and supplemental learning materials for the learners under the ARAL program, by providing resources for the training of tutors and integration of technology into basic education curriculum. The NTC shall perform the following roles and responsibilities. A. Incorporate compliance with the ARAL Program Act as a factor in the issuance and renewal of licenses for PTEs and broadcast networks. B. Ensure that PTEs meet the requirements of DepEd and the provisions in the Act regarding 1. Free access to all DepEd hosted learning platforms and education materials without data charges and 2. Provision of subsidized data. Plans for eligible tutors and learners in financial need as defined under Sector 11 of the Act. C. Develop a system, together with DepEd, the National Council for Children's Television, NCCT, and the broadcast networks, regarding the daily airtime allocation for the programming of the video lesson materials to be aired, and D. Provide necessary support to DepEd in implementing the provisions of the Act, particularly in areas involving compliance and coordination with PTEs and broadcast networks. The DSWD shall perform the following roles and responsibilities. A. Enter into an agreement with DepEd and concerned LGU to initiate home learning and support activities, programs, or similar initiatives for parents and parent substitutes of learners under the ARAL program, and B. Integrate into the ARAL program the Tarabasa and any existing program and campaign initiated and designed to support academic recovery and learning development of learners. Section 23. Mandatory review and impact evaluation. An annual evaluation shall be designed to collect comparable data for the purpose of determining the impact of the program. The impact evaluation report shall be submitted to Congress not later than 6 months after the end of every school year of implementation. The DepEd shall lead the conduct of monitoring and evaluation of the implementation of ARAL program through coordination and collaboration with its field offices, partner government agencies and private sector. DepEd shall gather necessary data requirements from its stakeholders and program beneficiaries in accordance with the existing policies. Section 24. Tax incentives. Any donation, contribution, or grant, in cash or in kind, made by individuals or organizations, public or private, local or foreign, to the ARAL program through the DepEd, shall be exempt from donors' tax and considered an allowable deduction from the gross income of the donor in accordance with the provisions of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, as amended, and the relevant rules and regulations of Bureau of Internal Revenue. For full deductibility from gross income purposes, the donation, contribution, or grant, in cash or in kind, made by individuals or organizations, public or private, local or foreign to the ARAL program through the DepEd must also be included in the National Economic and Development Authority's (NEDA) National Priority Planning. Section 25. Updated LIS. The DepEd shall update its LIS, which shall contain the following additional information: a. Name and academic background of tutors. b. Name, grade level, and school of learners and their corresponding pre- and post-assessment scores and standardized measures of program effectiveness and grades in the subjects taken under the ARAL program, and c. Assessment of learner performance on tasks and activities administered during the tutorial sessions. The DepEd Planning Service or the concerned office handling the LIS, in coordination with the Bureau of Education Assessment, BEA, Bureau of Learning Delivery and Bureau of Human Resources and Organizational Development, BHROD. Information, Communication and Technology Service, ICTS, and other concerned offices in the department, shall keep the records and other relevant details and information mentioned in the preceding paragraphs of this section, subject to the provisions of the RA 10173 or the Data Privacy Act of 2012.